Hi everyone, this is Board Games and Bourbon. I'm Glenn Flaherty, and right now I'm going to show you how to play Siege of Valeria, which is a game that I made. It is being put out by Daily Magic Games. It's just for one player, but really you can play it collaboratively, kind of like an escape room game where you have to talk and figure out what you're going to do. The game takes 30 to 45 minutes to play, and you will want to collaborate or at least take your time making decisions because you need to find clever combinations to defeat the game. It is the type of game that was mathed out. You can't always defeat it, but you have to make the right choices, a little bit of gamble here and there, and it's the kind of game that will make you second guess every choice you made along the way. Now, in the game, the idea is you are the last standing castle in the south of Valeria. You are the only thing stopping a 7-day siege from overrunning Valeria, and these hordes of enemies keep coming. You need to fend them off, and when you fend them off, you take the power that they have and you use it for yourself to defeat further enemies. The cards are going to be, and let me hold one up to the camera here, cards that are going to have a banner in the corner that tell you what's used. Like in this case, it needs 2 magic and 2 strength, which are basically red die and blue die. And it says you need a 2 and a 2. Now, I should tell you when you roll the die, there really is not better die in the game because low dice can actually become very powerful die if you know how to combo it. And I'm going to let you discover how to do that on your own. But when a card is defeated, you get a power on the card. Like this card says you can re-roll any number of unused dice that you have left over in your pool. So like I said, every card you defeat gives you abilities to further your progress. At the top here, what you're going to have are siege engines, which is essentially the bosses. And these cards here are going to have ranges where they can be attacked. When they're out of the range, it takes more attack to kill them. When they're in range, less. But if they are in range, they're also going to mess you up. Like in this case here, this says, if this is within range, it says you have to re-roll a 6 that you had, okay? Let's see if the camera can pick that up. Now, to set up the game, what you're going to do is you're going to take 5 red die, 2 blue die. You're going to have some tokens here because the enemies can get strengthened. You're going to get these little fire tokens over here. And as these enemies come down, if they're right up against your castle, they're going to set fire to it. If you get 3 fires in any one of the turrets of your castle, it can't hold a champion, who I'll show you in a little bit. They come out to help you. And if a 4th comes, the wall was breached. Also, if the siege engines, the bosses, get to the bottom, you're breached. And by the way, a little FYI, they're called siege engines, kind of like the Roman siege engines that they used to break through castles, and they're called engines, kind of like the word ingenious, where they were, clever devices they used to break through. Okay, so what do you do here? Well, you're going to get your big deck of the hordes that are coming. You're going to put 2 for you, and that's basically going to give you 2 starting powers, and then you're going to get 2 more cards and you're going to toss them out so that you don't know exactly what's in the deck. And then you're going to make 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to stack them 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, face up so you know it's coming. And then you're going to take your siege engine deck here. You're going to take 5 out of the game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that should be there, 5. And then you're going to put 1 at the top of every column here, and you got to defeat the whole deck of cards. And with that, you're really ready to go. Okay, so how does a turn work? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to get your rule book, and your rule book on the back is actually going to have a nice little turn order that you can do here. So step number 1 says you're going to roll your dice. So I'm going to take all of these dice over here. And along the way in the game, you have the opportunity to get extra dice, but you're going to start with a certain set. We're going to roll them. And what do we have here? We have a 1, we have a 2, we have a 2, we have 2 3s, we have a 1 blue, and we have a 6 blue. Okay, and then what we're going to do is resolve the siege engines. So what do we have here? Well, this siege engine says it's in range if it is in row 1, the vanguard, 3 or 5, and it is number 5. Because it's in the 5th row, it is in range, and it says you're going to discard 1 of your champions. Champions are cards of people who are going to come out to help you. When you defeat a siege engine, they are encouraged to come out and help you. And they come out, and every round they can help you with a power, or they have a really big power. It's a card that you're going to burn. Like this one here, Sister Alina says you get a +1 attack against a red bannered card, stuff like this. And this says discard a champion. We don't have any, so that doesn't work. The next one is out of range, so it doesn't take effect. The next one is in range, but again, it's going to be a flaming rain device, and that is going to flip down one of our champions. It doesn't do anything. This one over here, the catapult, is out of range, and over here, this is also out of range. Normally, that's a really tough card. This one would have made us lose a red and a blue card from our pool, which we do not want. Okay, so with that, we want to go ahead and start attacking the enemy here. Now, we have 2 cards in our hand. One is really great to start the game. This one here says that if I discard this, I can gain and roll 1 red die. So I'm going to get rid of this right now, and I'm going to take a die and I'm going to roll it. And it's a 5. That's a nice strong die to have in our pool here. And then this one says I can re-roll any number of die. So I think I'm going to use that too, because I have a bunch of 3s, 2s, and 1s. And you know what? It's not going to get much worse. And yes, all my numbers seem to have gone way higher. I have a 5, I have another 5, I have a 4, I have a 3, and I have a 2. Now, there is also in this game an event deck. Okay, so after you resolve the siege engines, what you would do is you would resolve your events. Okay, now what I can do is I'll turn one over. You know, when you're learning the game, you don't have to use it, but they're fun. This one is called Foresight. A mother holding her daughter stands outside your door. You wave the guards aside. Before you can tell her that you're very busy with the siege, her daughter turns her head from her mother's bosom and looks at you with cold white eyes. A living oracle. Aquila has blessed this young girl with the gift of foresight. Look at the top 3 event cards and return them in any order. Okay, so that can really help you, because some of these event cards can harm you, some can benefit you, so you can stack them in your way. Okay, so that card was used. I'm going to put that there. So once again, the order of the gameplay typically is you roll your dice, you resolve the siege engines, you go to the events. Okay, and now with that, you perform your actions. Okay, so what am I going to do here? Okay, this card here requires 3 blue and 3 red. This will let me swap to adjacent cards. That's important because sometimes I want to bring a card lower so I can attack it. Who can I attack in the game? I can only attack, kind of like if you think of like British forces when they're coming in their waves, you can only attack the card that you see first. So right now, if I'm in my castle, I can only see these cards here in the vanguard in the front row. If this card was removed, now this one is exposed, so I can attack these 4 and this one. Sometimes I can get a card that'll let me attack further and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do there. Okay, well, what I'm noticing as I look here across the board is this is a card that'll let me get another red die. So maybe I want to attack the one in front of it so that I can get to this one. Okay, this one here is the Goblin Warrior. It requires 3 strength to attack it. I'm going to take a 3 die. I'm going to spend it. I'm going to attack this person, and they're going to go. And this here says +1 to die in the future. Okay, good. Now, an Orc Archer is exposed, and they'll give me another red die. They require 6 red. Now, in the game, I have a 5 red, and I have a 1 blue. Magic is a great thing in the Valeria games where they augment. They either stand on their own as blue, or they augment red attacks, strength attacks. So I have a 5 red. I'm going to augment it with a blue. That is 6. They're spent. I now defeat this card. I'm going to spend it right away so that I can get another red from the pool, put it into my hand. All right, it's a 5. That's a pretty solid number. Okay, moving on. Here's an enemy, the Dragonkin Warlord. This says it'll double the value of a dice. That's really important because if you have like a number 6 die, you can double it to make it a 12. And you're going to need that. Oh boy, are you going to need that. Okay, so that requires 8 strength. I don't have any perfect 8 number. Shucks. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a 5, put this here. I'm going to take a 2 red, but I'm going to burn my card here that said I could +1 a die. I'm going to make that a 3. Now that's 8. I'm going to spend those 2. I'm going to get this card. Okay, and this one here now says I can double a die in the future. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about things. But now I'm kind of in a situation where I have 3 cards here that all require blue, and I only have 1 blue die left. And the problem about leaving them up against my castle is they're each going to burn a hole through the castle, getting me near either losing a spot or losing the game. Now, there are ways to get rid of damage. You can discard a die to get rid of 1 damage. So if like this token goes on the board, I can throw a die away and that'll take the damage off, or I can lose a champion in the future and get that away. But what do I want to do here? My goodness, I can't attack any of them. I can attack 1. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a 5 here because this requires 4 blue and 5 red. I put a 5 red there. I'm going to put my 6 blue there. It's too much, but that's fine. It's off the board. It's out of the game. And this one here was called the Ifrit Iflam. Spend +2 to overkill an adjacent siege engine. Now, what does overkill mean? Overkill basically means if you are in a situation where you have someone to attack and you have this card, you do not have to pay the full amount of money to attack the adjacent character. All you have to do is play the extra. So in this case, I only have to pay a +2 blue and I kill somebody, which is a huge discount on killing someone. That's great. Okay, now I have a 4 red and a 5 red die left. I'm just going to apply it here. I'm going to put a 4 on this character because this requires 4. This is a gargoyle here. Talent, and this says I can attack any non-front card, which is great. So that means any card, not necessarily in the front, any card. That even includes a siege engine, meaning if I'm in a really tough spot, I can just go back here and bam, get them out of the row. So let's imagine I did that. I played this card to get rid of somebody. Let's pretend I had enough die. I'm going to roll them, apply them, and I'm going to kill the siege engine. This siege engine goes out of the game, and I've encouraged my citizens, and a champion shows up. And let's say in this case, Sir Chanan shows up. And this says here, once per round, I get a +1 attack against a red bannered card. I'm going to put that person right there. Okay, so let's say that's the end of the turn. Now there is a cleanup phase. And what happens is this person is on my wall. They're going to do damage. This person is on my wall. They're going to do damage. They do their damage, and then they perish in the fight. These 2 cards are going to go away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide them down like this because they're all approaching me. And then 4 troops are going to arrive. Now, what's important is your deck is your timer in the game. 4 troops always have to arrive. Whether they can join the fight or they go away, doesn't matter. This is your timer. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 there, right? 2 are already there. I added 2. I need 2 more, but there's not enough room. So they're just going to kind of go away. And then you always top your column with a boss, a siege engine, and a new one comes out like that. Okay, so I have a new siege engine, and now I'm ready to go for the next round. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my dice, resolve my engines, check an event, and then I'm going to do my actions. Just for giggles, let's see if anyone is in range here and what would happen. So we have all these dice right here. I'm going to roll them all. Okay. All right, a bunch of 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. That's okay. Okay, this siege engine here only activates in row 1, 3, and 5. Doesn't activate. This one over here, the trebuchet, is in range. It's in range 1 through 4, and this is now in row 3. And it says here, add 1 flame to the turret below. Uh-oh. Okay. Over here, this only activates in 1, 3, or 4, or 1, 3, and 5. So this is out of range. This activates, in row 1, 2, or 3, but not 4 where it is. Yes. And then this one activates in 2, 3, or 4, and it's in 5. Wow. So we really missed a bullet there. Let's read the next event card here. And it says the Shaman's Ritual. With knowledge of the deep soil, Null shamans tap into the fountain. With a connection to a patter tree, orc shamans ask for a direct link to the fountain. Before you stand, a dozen gnolls with hands in the ground and 3 orcs holding saplings. Crackling energy emerges from the earth and surrounds the siege engine. Add 2 magic to the furthest siege engine. Okay, Bad news, 2 magic went on a siege engine. So what does that mean? Okay, well instead, that is really rough. So I just put 2 magic on this one. What that means is instead of taking simply 14 attack, 14 red, now it's 14 red plus 2 blue. That is tough. That's really tough, okay. And that's how you start the game, okay? And so anyway, that's how you play Siege of Valeria. If you have any questions about gameplay, let me know. Happy to tell you. And until next time, friends, be well. Talk to you soon. Bye.